Namo Namah Anandalilamaya Vikahaya Hema Padvyascha Visundaraya Tasmai Maham Premarasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Bhaktya Vina Aparada Lakshay Kripa Mahitam Shalnam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Brinde Namaste Sundar Skanda Shikar Smahas Murli Manoira Radhikaras Kamama Kripanade Supirchana King Kunim Kudu Tavai Vasmi Na Jiva Vitayavana Jivikaya Devi Tam Nama Charantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastanga Dandavati Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadir Paramaradhatama, Gurupada Padma, Nittilila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Satasri Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, and to our entire Sri Rupanuga Gauriya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kupasandubhyavacha, Paditanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Srila Gurudeva ki Jai. This morning, we discussed the ontology of the Jiva, the nature of the soul's existence, and the ontology of Paramatma. And we discussed how, when Supreme Lord is playing with His internal potency, Swarup Shakti, He is Bhagavan. And when only He is doing Shrishti Lila through Maya and with the Jivas of Tatastha Shakti, then that form of the Lord, whose Lila is creation, maintenance and destruction of the world, is called Paramatma. Now, question comes, why does God create the world? Someone may say, I don't accept that the creation of the world is a lila, play, a pastime. Because what would be the purpose behind it? Even many people think that God is impersonal and that He doesn't do any activities. Because why would he do anything? He's full, he's perfect. So what's the point in God doing anything? So what is the purpose behind the Leela of creation of the world? Or why does God do any Leela at all? So these questions were posed by Vidura when he met with Maitreya Rishi in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 7, verse 3. He's saying that children play. But when a child plays, he's impelled to play by his own desire. Because he wants something. Or it's due to the desire of another child who is engaging him in fulfilling some desire. So how can this be so that Bhagavan plays if he is Atmaram, if he is self-satisfied, and if he is detached from everything? Another thing is, if Bhagavan were to play, then why would he play with his inferior energy? Bhagavan is coming also to this world. Why will he play with his inferior energy? Surely he'll just play with Swarup Shakti, his spiritual energy. Does Bhagavan himself appear among the avatars? Now the avatars, they appear for the sake of what? Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata vyutanamadhamasya tadatmanam siddham. When dharma is going down, then to maintain dharma in the universe, Vishnu is coming and maintaining the universe by destroying the demons and re-establishing the dharma in the world. So how is it that Krishna comes to this world and does this activity of establishing dharma, having a leela with, because dharma is from sattva gun and adharma is from rajas and tamas. So how can Krishna be involved in the gunas? And we see that when Krishna comes and other incarnations, they take the side of the demigods and they fight against the demons. So this idea, who is a demon, who is a demigod, who is in sattva-gun, who is in rajagun, this is dvandva, duality. So it seems that God is going into Maya and having a vision of duality. So is God partial by taking the side of the demigods? How could duality be present in Bhagavan if Bhagavan is nirgun, a nirgun entity beyond dvandva, duality? So, in answer, Maitreya Rishi said, yes, it's true. Bhagavan does not do anything to sustain the universe. Doesn't do anything at all. But he comes. Krishna himself comes. And various avatars come. Exclusively. And they play here, not with any material energy, but they only interact with their own Swarup Shakti, internal potency, even when they come here. So, in the Padma Purana, there, Sri Krishna said, look, I can annihilate all the demons in 1 second. Just by thinking, oh, you should be finished. And the demon would just disappear. Right? Because everything is God's energy. How can a demon oppose God? The very energy that he has to oppose him is his energy. So God doesn't have to do anything to come here and fight with demons or anything like that. So why does he do it? So in Padma Purana he said, Mad Bhaktanam Vinodatam Karomi Vivida Kriya. Karomi Vivida Kriya. I do all these different types of activities. Why? Mad Bhaktanam Vinodatam. Only to give happiness to my devotees. This is all Krishna does. And his incarnations. They act only to give happiness to their devotees. Materialistic persons, they get very upset to say, oh, God must be a big egotist. Because he tells everyone, oh, you should serve me, surrender to me. That's to help you get out of Maya. But when one becomes a devotee and is out of Maya, then Krishna does not, he just wants to serve his devotee and please his devotee. He also asks for service. He likes to be pampered. But the reason he likes to be pampered is because pampering him, massaging him, fanning him, feeding him, all these activities give joy to the devotee. This is also mad bhaktanam vinodatam, not for himself. And Krishna feels joy when his devotee feels joy, and the devotee feels joy when Krishna feels joy. So, Kunti Devi has said in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, verse 20, Tata parahamsanam muninam amalatmanam bhakti yoga vidanatam katam pasyamahi striya. That, O Krishna, you yourself descend to this world. Why? Bhakti yoga vidanatam. To distribute bhakti. Paramahamsanam. To the Paramahamsas. In other words, those who are already advanced, then Krishna comes and completes their perfection. Also, Lord Brahma, in his Brahmastuti prayers to Krishna after he'd been bewildered, he said, Prapancham nisprapanchopi vidambayasi bhutale prapanna janatananda sandoham pratitam prabhu. It's very beautiful. Oh Krishna, Prapancham, you come to this material world of the five elements. Nisprapanchopi, but you yourself, you are completely transcendental. Vidambayasi bhutale, but you act like an ordinary human being. And why do you do this? Prapanna janatananda. There are prapanna janata, persons who are fully surrendered to you, and you do it because prapanna janatananda sandoham, to give very intense bliss to your surrendered devotees. So, Srila Vishwanath Thakur in the commentary on this verse, he said that if you light a lamp during the daytime, it doesn't look so bright. If you light a lamp in the darkness, then it looks more effulgent. If you put a jewel, a diamond, on a silver plate, it does not look so bright as if you put the diamond on dark blue glass. So in the same way, though Krishna is doing his pastimes in the spiritual world, when he manifests them here in the prapanch, in the material world, they look more astonishing, more beautiful, and they give so much joy to the devotees who are the first time going into the lila, and also the devotees who come with him. For them it's also very astonishing. So, if baby is very quiet, okay. Otherwise, if baby is crying, just I'll go outside for a minute and then come back when it's quiet again. Yeah. This is the adult hours. So, now Brahmaji has prayed in the third canto, chapter 9, verse 23. Aisha prapanna varado ramayatma sakta yad yat karishyati grahit gunavataraha tasmin swa vikramam idam srijado bicheto yunjit karma shamalam chayata vijayam. He said that the Supreme Lord is always very kind to his surrendered devotees. I am praying that in my service of creation. Brahma has just become enlightened, and now he's about to create the world. He's had darshan of Krishna and was blessed by him. He became enlightened. He heard the Chatusloki Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam in 4 verses. Now he's saying, you are very kind to the devotees who are surrendered, so I am surrendering to you. And I pray that I'll not become materially affected by this act of creation, that I'll not become entangled. Now I have to deal with this material energy. And for this I am praying that I will be able to give up the false ego of being the creator. Because we are not the doers of the activities done by the 3 modes. So Rajas is doing the creation. So though Brahma has to do it, he's praying, let me not identify that I am doing this. But instead, Tasmin sva vikrama medam srijado picheto, may the Supreme Lord engage my mind in always remembering His Leela, His pastimes. And His activities, they were always enacted through His internal potency, Rama, the goddess of fortune. Here, Esha Prapanna Varado Ramayatma Shaktya. Krishna's pastimes are all done through his internal potency. So, the activity of maintaining Dharma in the world, when the Supreme Lord comes to maintain Dharma, actually, He's not really coming to maintain Dharma. He's coming to give joy to the devotees, the ones who come with Him, and the ones who are devoted to Him many lifetimes. They've been doing bhajan. He's just coming for them. That's the reason. That's all. But incidentally, when He does that, Dharma gets established. Demons get killed because they go against His devotees. And then He becomes angry and He kills them. But His anger is not caused by the demons. His anger is an expression of love for His devotee. So it's completely spiritual. So, the example is given to illustrate how it is that when the Supreme Lord comes to this world and maintains Dharma, actually He doesn't come for that. He's coming just to give pleasure to His devotees. Example is given that sometimes there are some pure Vaishnavas, and they have the desire to experience the Prema Sukh Ullas, the expanding illumination of the joy of Krishna Prem. So to experience this, they decide, on this day, we'll have a Maha Sankirtan festival. So they organize it and they invite other pure devotees to come. But then they're thinking, we should have some really good mridanga players. So then they call some really professional mridanga players who are not pure devotees. And they say, please come and play in this Sankirtan. So they come and then they have a big Sankirtan. So their intention was to please Krishna and experience the nectar of Krishna Prem. But incidentally, these persons in ignorance who were playing the mridangas, they also got the benefit, and they were uplifted and benefited by their joyful Sankirtan. So, the intention was to relish Prem, but the other persons who were there, they were also uplifted. So in the same way, when the avatars of the Lord come to this world, it's very ecstatic. Because He's coming out of love and performs pastimes of love. And incidentally, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, this takes place, the maintenance of the world. Another example is given, is you wake up in the morning and your kitchen is very cold. So you think, I should cook something. So then you light the fire in the kitchen to cook. Though you lit the fire to cook the food, to make an offering to Krishna, but automatically the coldness of the kitchen was removed and you became warm. So in the same way, the Supreme Lord, He's coming just out of love to relish loving pastimes with his devotees. Incidentally, dharma is done. Just like the cook, he's cooking, and incidentally, that is called anusangik. Anusangik, it is concomitant. It is incidental to the main activity. Now, a person may act in this world because he's lacking something. Or, so the conditioned souls, they act in this way. Or, a person may act just out of an overflowing of delight. So in the Vedanta Sutra it is said, Lokavat tu lila kaivalyam. The Lord's creation of the world is just like the activities of a human being. Meaning, the example in the commentary of Madhvacharya, he says, Kuru te kevalanandat yatar martyasya nartanam. There was an alcoholic person. And he was very poor. So he did not have any alcohol. But finally he got some. And he thought, I will not drink it in public, I'll go in the forest. So he went into the forest, and then he was drinking, and he got drunk, and then when he was feeling happy, he just started to dance. So there was no one to dance with. And there was no one to see him dance. So there was no benefit whatsoever of this dancing. It was just he felt so happy he wanted to dance. So the analogy is not perfect, but Vedanta Sutra is giving this example. Madhvacharya is explaining in this way to show us that God has no purpose to achieve in the creation. But He does, all of His pastimes are performed just out of the exuberance of His heart, out of pure jubilation. Now, if Bhagavan, the question comes, if Bhagavan is acting to give bliss to His devotees, and the devotees are acting to give bliss to Bhagavan, then it must be that either one of them or both of them are not self-satisfied. Because maybe Bhagavan is not fully satisfied and the devotee is not fully satisfied, but when they try to please each other, then they're satisfied. And also, because he's acting for the devotees and not for the non-devotees, therefore he must have some sort of bias. So these two questions come. Now, in answer, we can say that the conditioned soul has a material body and mind. And this is apurna, incomplete. It always has so many deficiencies. But the bodies of the Supreme Lord and the bodies of the devotees are of Vishuddha Sattva, pure transcendental existence. So there's no question of them not having bliss, because they are Satchidananda Vigraha. They are made of bliss. And so they are completely satisfied. But Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktiman, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktiman, that means Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktiman is full of bhakti for his devotee. It's not only the Bhakta has bhakti for Bhagavan, but Bhagavan Bhakta Bhaktiman, Bhagavan himself is full of bhakti for his devotee. Now, bhakti means the desire to please the object of love, not anything else. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, no other desire. Now, only a person who is Atmaram, self-satisfied, can act exclusively for someone else's happiness. Because if you're not fully satisfied, then you're bound to serve someone else for your own sake. And so, it is not that those who have bhakti are lacking in anything and they're doing bhakti to become self-satisfied, but rather, Atmaramata, self-satisfaction, is a precondition for bhakti. In other words, there is no bhakti before your Atmaram. If you're not self-satisfied, then you're doing it for something else. So if you are self-satisfied, then after that, then you can render pure bhakti. To serve another person with no selfish interests. Now, if Krishna did not act to please his devotees, then a fault would come to Krishna. Why? The devotee is acting only to please Krishna. And Krishna should be inspired by that. If he were not inspired by that and want to reciprocate with them, then Krishna would have the defect of akritagyata. Akritagyata means ungratefulness. So Supreme Lord is free from any fault. He definitely does not have akritagyata, ungratefulness. You see, just like if you have any copy of the Bhagavad Gita, always on the front cover there's a picture of Krishna driving the chair. He has a whip in the one hand and he's holding the reins of the horses with the other, and Arjuna is standing there with his bow. Why is Krishna taking this low position? Because a Kshatriya cannot be a chariot driver. Chariot driver is a lower caste. You know, when Karna challenged the Pandavas in a martial arts competition, then Dronacharya said, no, you can't compete with them. Because you are born in a family of charioteers. You can drive chariots. But you are not worthy to fight with Kshatriyas. Only Kshatriyas fight with Kshatriyas. Otherwise it's an insult. So Krishna, who is having the leela of being a Kshatriya in the Yadu dynasty, is driving Arjuna's chariot. Why? Because when he sees the love in the heart of Arjuna, then his heart melts and, I want to serve you. And then he spontaneously is taking up and he wants to drive the chariot for Arjuna. It's an anubhav. And actually all the activities of Krishna and his devotees, they are one of the ingredients of rasa, anubhavs. In other words, they are the reactions to the love that they're feeling for each other. How they speak, how they walk, how they talk, what they do. Krishna is not only driving Arjuna's chariot, he's also massaging the legs of Arjuna's horses. At night, someone has to guard the camp of the emperor, Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna standing outside with a weapon at night, like a security guard, protecting Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he's the emperor. Why? Because Krishna is not akritagya, ungrateful. When he sees the love in the heart of his devotee, he wants to serve them. And therefore, Krishna is does not have bias towards his devotees. Rather, they love him, so he's reciprocating. And the others, they don't love him, so he's reciprocating. He's reciprocating with everyone. Yayatamam prapadyante. Now, see, Krishna, he gets pleasure from the service of his devotee. Does that mean he's not Atmaram? No, he is Atmaram. Why? Because this energy of bhakti by which the devotee is serving is his own Swarup Shakti. Swarup Shakti means the Shakti which comes from his Swarup and which is non-different from his Swarup is called Swarup Shakti. So there's a very beautiful description of Swarup Shakti. Supreme Lord Narayan is saying to Durvasa Rishi in 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Naham atmanam asase madbhaktai sadubhe bina shriyam chatyantikim brahman yesham gate aham para. So we see in this situation, Bhagavan is indifferent to Durvasa Rishi. Durvasa Rishi tried to kill Ambarish Maharaj. And then the chakra came. and began to chase the Vasarishi all over the universe. He tried to take shelter of Brahma. Brahma said, I cannot help you. He tried to take shelter of Shiva. Lord Shiva said, I cannot help you. And finally he came to Bhagavan and said, please save me. Brahma and Shiva said, only you can save me. So please save me. And Bhagavan said, no. He said, don't you feel any compassion for me in your heart? I have heard you're full of mercy. Are you not feeling mercy for me? No. Why? Supreme Lord said, Sadhu hridayam mayam, sadhu nam hridayam taham. You know that the sadhu is my heart, and I am the heart of the sadhu. That means if you want mercy, mercy comes from the heart. So Supreme Lord was saying, you're coming to me for mercy, but mercy comes from the heart, and my heart has been stolen, it's with my devotee. Huh? And the heart, my devotee is in my heart. So you tried to kill my devotee. And now you come to me for mercy, but my heart is with that devotee that you tried to kill. Huh? So, now Supreme Lord is saying, Naham apmanamasase. It means that I do not want the happiness of my opulences. Right? Bhagavan has 6 opulences. I do not want the happiness of my opulences. Sriyam chatyantikim brahman. Naham atmanamasase. I don't want the happiness of my own swarup. Right? Because Bhagavan is Sachidananda Vigraha. He's made of Ananda. He's full of Ananda. So, Anandamayo Vyasat. He has prachur, abundant Ananda in himself. But he said, I don't want this happiness from my own form, and I don't want any happiness from my opulences, all my shaktis going everywhere. Mad bhaktai sadhu bibina, without my devotees. If my devotees are there, then I feel happiness. But without my devotees, I don't want the happiness of my swarup or from my opulences. So this verse is very profound. It's by these words, Supreme Lord is describing that there are 2 types of Ananda. One is Swarupananda, the joy of Bhagavan's own form, Swarupananda. And the other one is Swarup Shaktyananda, the joy caused by his Swarup Shakti, the spiritual energy that comes from his Swarup. Now, that Swarup Shaktyananda is of 2 types. One is called Manasananda. That means the joy of the heart. And that joy of the heart comes from the service. The devotees please his heart from the devotees. And the other is Aishwaryananda, the joy that comes from his opulences, manifest everywhere. Like in Vaikuntha. You know? It's not like third world country in Vaikuntha. Everything is opulent. All the facilities, everything are there unlimitedly. So, that is his Aishwaryananda. So, in this verse he's saying, Naham atmanamasase. I don't want the happiness of my own swarup. That means, I don't want the Swarupananda. Sriyam chantikim brahman. I don't want the Aishwaryananda. That is the category of Swarup Shakti Ananda related to opulences. Without Mad Bhakta Sadhu Bibina, without my Manasananda, the joy that comes from serving my devotees. So in this way, the question has been answered whether or not the devotee and Bhagavan are self-satisfied. Yes, they are self-satisfied. But still, they want to give joy to each other. So one may say, if the Swarup Shakti is in Krishna and it's out of him, then why doesn't the Swarup Shakti which is in Krishna give him as much pleasure as the Swarup Shakti when it comes out from him? So there's a verse in the Puranas that said, it is just like the air. of a musician. A musician plays a flute. So he breathes air. So when he's breathing, he feels happiness. But when he breathes the same air into the flute, now it gets Vaichitrata. It takes on an astonishing variety of qualities and becomes music that can sometimes make you cry, sometimes make you laugh, sometimes make you dance. So in the same way, the Ananda, the Shakti in Krishna, gives him happiness, but when that same Shakti goes into the receptacle of his devotee, it manifests in a great variety. And this variety causes Krishna and his devotees to feel many, many transcendental emotions. Bhakti rasa. Which would not be available were he just alone. So, now we come to the question. Is the Supreme Lord biased? Does he have favoritism? Now, if a person is trying to please someone else, then it can be for two possible reasons. One is, you're trying to please that person to get something from them. Or it can be just for that person's happiness and give some benefit to them. Now, the first reason we can discard completely. Because if you are serving someone to get something for yourself, then you have no favoritism to that person at all. You don't care about them at all. You just see that they have something and you're trying to get that, so you're really only serving yourself. If someone else had the same thing, then, so the favoritism is not to the individual, your favoritism is only to yourself. So there's no bias between this person, this one, in this case, because it's only about the individual, not the others. So then the second case, now this is very important. The desire to act for someone else's benefit is called compassion. Karunya, compassion. So it's necessary to study the psychology of compassion, how it works. Our psychological body has mind, intelligence, ego, and last element is chitta. So this chitta is undergoing transformations. It's called chitta vikar, transformations of the chitta. Now, this chitta, our consciousness can move. It moves in akash, space. This is very important. You can feel it yourself. If you're distressed, then you're not concerned with, you just like feel trapped. You feel trapped and you're just focused on one thing. You cannot see the big picture. Why? Because your chitta has contracted in the akash. Your chitta has actually contracted and become smaller. But when you're enjoying, you feel so free. Because it's as if your mind has expanded. And the reason is because it did. So the chitta is contracting in the akash and expanding in the akash. This is described by Kapil Dev in the 3rd canto. Bhutanam chittadatatvam. So, one name for akash is ka. Ka. As Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Shabda Ke Parasham Nishu. I am the sound. Ke means in ether, in the akash. Ke is the locative case of ka. So ka becomes ke. I am the sound in the ka. So ka means akash, space. So when your chitta is expanded in space, then that's very beautiful. So that is called sukha, beautiful space. Sukha, happiness. It's very wonderful. In English or whatever your language is, I'm sure you have a word for happiness. But that word for happiness doesn't explain ontologically, metaphysically, what happiness actually is. But in Sanskrit, the word sukha, happiness, actually says what it is, that your chitta is expanded in the akash. And dukkha, du means bad. So because the chitta has contracted, dukkha, it doesn't have space. It doesn't have space to move. You go into confusion, you cannot think. Dukkha. So, compassion means when you see someone else in a state of dukkha, then you identify with that and you feel it. Because Narad Muni has said, someone who has been pricked with a pin does not want to see someone else pricked with a pin. Yeah? If you've been jabbed by a pin, ow. Then when you see someone else about to be jabbed by a pin, you go, ow. Because you have that experience, so you can feel what they're experiencing. And that is called compassion. Compassion is the melting of the heart when we partake in the pain of another person. Now, these vikar, these modifications, contractions of the chitta are modifications of prakriti. Now Bhagavan does not have any prakriti in him. He's aprakrita, supernatural. And therefore, he has no experience of distress, material distress at all. So, because Bhagavan has no experience of any distress, he cannot actually feel compassion. So, this is a very deep Siddhanta. Because generally people in this world are very sentimental. They think, oh, God is so kind. He's so kind. And then when something happens in their life and they're suffering, oh, why is God not being kind? They lose faith. In Europe once, hundreds of years ago, there was a huge earthquake in Lisbon, the Lisbon earthquake. Many people died. And after that, there was a big increase in atheism. Because while everything was good, everyone, oh, God's so nice. But then when everything became bad, then people, what is this? We prayed to God and He didn't do anything. I was suffering and God didn't help me. So it's really important to understand. God is merciful, but how is He merciful? He's not merciful in the material sense, that if you're undergoing material suffering, then God is thinking, oh, that's so bad. He's not thinking like that at all. First, Krishna is just absorbed in his Leela. Krishna is doing his own thing. And Paramatma, who's the Shakshi, is watching. He's just watching. And he's impartial. And this happiness and distress, this is the reactions of one's own past activities. This is one's own karma. So there's no injustice here. But he's just watching, and God and the Paramatma in the heart, they are not moved by the suffering of the living entity. Now someone may say, but Bhagavan is omniscient. He knows everything, so how can He not know how miserable I am? So, this argument is called the logic of Gatta Kudyam Prabhatam. Gatta Kudyam Prabhatam means the logic of running into the toll man at the river crossing in the early morning. What it means is this. There was a group of people, they wanted to cross the river. So they came to the river crossing, and there was one toll man waiting there. He said, oh, whatever, it's $100 per person to cross here. They said, oh, we're not crossing. We was just passing through. And so then, they camped there, but then in the middle of the night, they all get up, and they try to go around to another place, to try to cross the river at another place. So they arrived there in the morning, and just as they arrived there, the toll man was there. The same man, give me $100. So this argument is called the is an example of Gatakudyam Prabhatam, that you try to avoid one problem, but you ended up going around in a circuitous way and you end up in the same problem. Because you say, oh, God must be compassionate to us. Because we are suffering and He must know our suffering. And then the person said, no. He doesn't know. But then you argue, but He's omniscient. He knows everything. He's inside and outside of even in my heart. He's there. So He must know. But then you come into the same situation. Your suffering is a chitta vikar, expansion and contraction of Prakriti. And He is nirgun. He has no material mind or anything. So even though He may know it, but His heart will not melt. Because one who has not been pricked by a pin does not feel the pain of a person who is pricked by a pin. So, you cannot make an argument that he has to know. So then someone may say that, but this diminishes his omniscience. He's not omniscient, he has some ignorance. So just because, if the sun is shining, you cannot say that because the sun doesn't know about darkness, that the sun is not shining. There's an absence of darkness in the sun. So that means the sun is not shining. No. So the Supreme Lord, He's omniscient, He knows everything. In fact, when your chitta is contracting and you feel suffering, then the very elements that are contracting are His elements. And He's present inside them. So the very action of suffering itself, He knows every fine detail. But He doesn't know what it's like to suffer. So that means there's a difference between dukkha gyan, the knowledge of how suffering is. Dukkha, the chitta is contracting. The exact knowledge of how it is, that is called dukkha gyan. Supreme Lord, Paramatma, He has dukkha gyan. He's in the heart and He knows. Because all His elements and energies are manifesting it. And He's pervading those elements. But He does not have dukkha anubhav, the realization subjectively of what suffering is. So you cannot demand that He will have it. Because that means you're demanding God should be in Maya like me. So, now, another thing is this. Someone may make an argument. No, I don't accept. God has to feel my suffering and give mercy because of this suffering. So, the answer to that is, Supreme Lord is the Parama Karunamai Shiromani. He's the crest jewel of all those who are full of kindness. This is His quality for sure. So, if He had realization of material suffering and he did not intervene, then actually He would be Krura Shiramani, the crest jewel of all cruel people. Right? So, He is very, very compassionate. And if He had Himself dukkha anubhav, He would not be able to tolerate it. And He would deliver the whole world right now. But the fact that you can see we're all still here. You went out on Sankirtan today, you saw all the people, they're still there. The fact that everyone is still there in this world is the praman, the proof that God does not have dukkha anubhav. Because if He did, He'd just start crying and deliver everyone at once. And we're all still here. So, I rest my case there. It has been proven that God has no dukkha anubhav. Now, the question comes, why does the Supreme Lord give mercy to His devotee? Because the happiness and distress of the devotee is not the prakrita vikar. It is not a material transformation. A devotee feels distress. What? Separation. Oh Krishna, where are you? A devotee is trying to serve Krishna and do something, and an obstacle comes. He thinks, oh, how can I perform my service? So he has happiness and distress. But this is not material happiness and distress. This is actually the Swarup Shakti. These are the vikar, the transformation of bhakti in the heart of the devotee. So because the Supreme Lord only interacts with His spiritual potency, so the devotees who are in this world, Krishna hears their crying and He melts with compassion and He comes and He saves them in all situations. So God is very supremely merciful, very soft-hearted, but in relation to His devotees, in relation to Swarup Shakti, not in relation to Maya. Now someone may say, look, Gajendra, he was suffering, the crocodile was chewing him up. We discussed this the other day. And so seeing that Gajendra was suffering, the Lord appeared. No, that's not what happened. By suffering, the effect of aparad became exhausted. And then his bhakti from his previous life manifested. And due to the humility that he was about to die, then the bhakti was the dainyatmik bhakti. Humility makes bhakti surge up, uchchalit. So his bhakti suddenly had a great upsurge. And then the Supreme Lord heard his prayers. And he wasn't asking for anything. Only I want to serve you, my Lord. May you be pleased with me. I give my pranams to you. And so then the Lord appeared. So, then one may say, well, what about Yamalajun trees? The sons of Nalukuver and Manigriv. They were living for 100 years in the bodies of trees. And Krishna came and gave mercy to them. They were suffering so much. Again, their suffering was not the cause of Krishna giving mercy. What was the cause? Narada Muni. Narada Muni had said, oh, you should become trees. And they cried. And then Narada Muni, he felt sorry, he had compassion for them. So, alright, after 100 years Krishna will give mercy to you. So Krishna liberated them because he's controlled by the love of Narad. This is why, if we want to get Krishna's mercy, you cannot say, I'm suffering, oh God help me, I'm suffering so much. No. We have to go to Krishna's devotee. All the mercy of Krishna is there with his devotees. Now, if someone said, Bhagavan is biased because he feels the suffering of the devotee but not for others, then we say, no. Bhagavan is like a desire tree, a kalpavriksha. If someone goes to a kalpavriksha and asks for something, the tree will give. But if someone doesn't go to the tree to ask for something, it's not the fault of the tree. You cannot blame the tree. The tree will give anything that anyone who approaches the tree asks for. So in the same way, if Krishna does not give mercy to those who don't come to him, this is not his fault, that's their fault. They never came to him. But anyone who comes, he will give them mercy. So he is like a kalpataru, a desire tree. But he is more than a kalpataru. Why? Because a desire tree only gives what you ask. But Krishna gives himself and becomes subordinate and becomes the servant of his devotee. So Krishna is even more merciful than a kalpataru. So don't think, oh now I thought God was merciful, but now I learned that he's very mean. No, don't think like this. He is more merciful than a desire tree to those who surrender to him. And to those who are not surrendered to him, his mercy comes, but not in his swarup, in the form of his devotees. So, how is it that the devotees are full of mercy. Because devotees also don't experience material happiness and distress. So how will they feel compassion? Srila Vrindavan Thakur said, Jato deki Vaishnavera vyavahara duk janite nischay janiti tara parananda suk. He said, if you see that a Vaishnava is suffering, then you should actually know that they're experiencing Paramananda, the highest bliss. Vaishnavera jatadeka vyavahara duk. If you see, and he's suffering in this material world. Nischay janiya say parananda suk. No, you should know for certain he's in great bliss. Once there was a devotee, he was a photographer, and wherever Srila Prabhupada was going, he was taking photographs. And then afterwards he came to Srila Prabhupada, he printed them out, and he was showing the photographs. And then he got to one photograph, and in this photograph Prabhupada was like this. He said, Prabhupada, you don't look very happy in this photograph. Prabhupada said, let me see. And then he looked, he said, oh yes, I remember. It was the happiest moment of my life. So, the great souls, it's very difficult to understand them. Vigna Nabujai, even a learned person cannot understand the activities. Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigna Nabujai. The moods and the activities of a pure devotee, we cannot judge them by our material vision and material standards. So, the definition of prem, avigyata kila klesha. Even in the stage of bhav, there's a little bit of klesh. Some of the 5 causes of suffering, avidya, asmita, rag, dvesha, vinivesh. There's a little bit of klesh, just little, like a shadow in the stage of bhav. But in prem, avigyata kala klesha, there's no suffering whatsoever. And even that small shadow of suffering in bhav, it actually makes the devotee feel more humble. And he's weeping more, it actually stimulates his devotion. So, how can a devotee who's always in bliss feel compassion for others? So the answer is this. It is the logic of the Swapnabhang Nyaya, of the breaking of a dream. Let's say a person is having a bad dream, and then they wake up and then they feel great relief. It was just a dream. And very soon all the details of the dream disappear. But there's a slight memory of that, I was suffering. So in the same way, a pure Vaishnava has some slight memory of what it was like in a previous life before he attained the perfection. And due to that, when he sees others suffering in this world, heart is melting. Tai lobi mui papi loinu sharan. We sing every morning. Oh Vaishnav, the Vaishnavas, they're full of greed. They're greedy for us to surrender. They cannot wait. Oh, when will you surrender? When you surrender? You're suffering unnecessarily. Surrender now, quickly. And you'll be so joyful. So because of that feeling, some impression of in a previous life, what it was like to be infected by Maya. So the Vaishnavas feel compassion, and therefore we say, Samsara Davana Lalida Loka Tranaya Karanya Ganaganatva. Krishna is like an ocean of all good qualities. But we are far away from the ocean of Krishna. But from that ocean of Krishna's qualities, a cloud has come. And is a Karunya Ganaganatam. It is a cloud of mercy. And the cloud comes, is carried over the land where there's no water, and then rains down Krishna's mercy through the Vaishnava into that dry place. And then all the foliage there, all the dried up creepers, they come alive again. So, now, question comes. When Krishna appears in this world, he takes help from the Devatas. You know, when Lord Brahma and the Devatas came on the shore of the ocean of milk, then they prayed, Sahasa Shisha Purusha Sahasrakshas Sahasapati Swabhumin Vishvato Britva Atyatistad Dasangulam Purushai Vedagam Sarvam Yadbhutam Yatschabhavyam Utam Ritasyasti Nanaha Yadannena Tirohati. Like this, they were saying the Purusha Shukta of the Rig Veda, and at the end, crickets, nothing, no answer. No answer at all. It shows that Bhagavan is very, very difficult. Even they're praying to Vishnu. Very difficult to see him, have some contact and reciprocation with him. It's like, no answer. So then Brahmaji, he went into Samadhi. And then in his Hridaya Akash, the Akash of his heart, some Shabda Brahma came. And Supreme Lord said, I will appear just now, and the demigods, they should take birth among the Yadu dynasty. And the wives of the demigods should take birth as gopis in Vrindavan also. And so on. So, Supreme Lord told the demigods, come and participate in his lila. So, the question is, it seems that the Supreme Lord, when he comes to this world, he's interacting with the gunas, because the demigods are in Sattva Gun, and the Kamsa and the demons and so on, they're in Rajagun. Is this true? So then the answer is, no. When he comes to this world, and the demigods are so-called assisting him, his power actually enters into those devatas, and he's interacting still with his own Swarup Shakti. But your eyes cannot see it, how it's going on. So, the example is given is if there's a magnifying glass. You can take a magnifying glass, focus the rays of the sun, and set fire to dry leaves. So someone watching may say, did you see that? The magnifying glass has just set fire to the leaves. No. It was the Shakti of the sun acting through the magnifying glass that set fire to the leaves. So in the same way, when Krishna is interacting with devatas who are in the mode of goodness in this world, he's still not touching the material world at all. Because his Shakti has entered in, and his Leela Shakti is orchestrating the whole Leela. So it's perfect. Yeah? You know when you do a drama, and then some member of the drama forgets their prop, or they forget their lines, or they do something wrong? Why? Because Leela Shakti is not manifesting. And then it's like a problem. But when Krishna comes and does his drama, no one messes up. Right? No one forgets their lines, no one accidentally does something that spoils the whole Leela. Yeah? And then all the devotees turn around to that demigod, there's always one. Rasabhas. It never happened. Everything is just amazing and perfect. Even if something seems to go wrong, it was all part of the Leela. You see? Why? Because the Supreme Lord, Swarup Shakti, is entering into them, and the Supreme Lord is still playing with his internal potency, even when he's here. So another example is given, that if someone takes a kettle drum and beats it, boom, you think, wow, the drum made such a great sound. Did the drum make the sound? No. Because the drum is made of earth. And where does the Shabda come from? Akash. It's a quality of space. Only the drum was instrumental that the sound which was already in the Kash was released. But by our eyes we think that the drum has created the sound. Because the elements in this world are mixed together and you cannot see which one is doing what, just by ordinary perception. So in the same way, ordinary people cannot see how the Supreme Lord's energy has entered into the Devatas. And Krishna is only interacting with his internal potency. But those who have the wisdom, transcendental wisdom, they can see how it's going on. Now one may say that Krishna has partiality because he punishes the demons when he comes here. And the answer is, no. He's also kind to them because he's not punishing them, he's purifying them. Just like if a person has jaundice, then sugar tastes very bad. But the doctor will say, take the sugar. And it's like a torture to eat it. But the sugar is the cure for jaundice. So in the same way, even though the demons, they're fighting with him and they're against it, but still, he's being kind and he's purifying them. Now, it seems when Krishna comes to this world, that he really is in the material world. Interacting with matter, with Maya. Why? Take for example, when Krishna got back from Gurukul of Sandipani Muni, he came to Mathura. At that time, Jarasandha attacked. Again and again, Krishna defeated him. He got another army, attacked again. 17 times he was driven away. On the 18th time, he came with millions of soldiers. And also, Kala Yavan came with 33 million Yavana soldiers. And they were smashing Mathura. They were bombing Mathura. And the walls were breaking, the palaces were being broken. The residents of Mathura, they were very perturbed. So it seems really like it was a material situation. And also, we can see that Krishna's activities seem to be under the grip of time. Krishna wakes up in the morning and he takes a bath. And then he has to dry. And then he has to put on ornaments and so on. It's not that he wakes up and goes, click, and he's washed and clean and with new, like that. He does things and the things have a result, and then he does the next thing and that has a result, like that. So it seems that he is under the control of time. And it looks like our worldly karma. So, the answer is this, that when Krishna comes to this world and he's interacting with all the things here, it is not that the objects and things here are actually instrumental, playing an instrumental role in his Leela. But rather the Swarup Shakti behind them is doing everything. And the material energy is just like a shakun. Shakun means an omen. An omen. Ashubha Lakshan, an inauspicious, what do you call it? Omen. You understand omen? Yeah. So, let's say for example, when something bad is about to happen, then at that moment you see a black cat. And something terrible is about to happen. We saw a black cat. Then someone will become angry. Oh, the black cat is coming. Chase him out of here. Because he'll make something terrible happen. Now, the black cat is not making anything happen. Right? It's a shakun. It's an omen. It's just indicative that something is going to happen. The cat is not personally responsible. But that's how people feel. Like, get that cat out of here. So in the same way, all the things, the material things which seem to be happening around Krishna when he comes in this world, they actually have no instrumental power and they're not the cause of anything. His Swarup Shakti, which is behind that, is doing everything, and the material objects are only like Shakun. They are present, they indicate something, but they have no instrumental power in his Leela. So here, in Paramatma Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad is giving us a deep vision of Leela Tattva. That our projection of mundane activity onto the activity of Krishna should all be completely removed. Now, in this way, the material energy is a synchronized, the spiritual energy which is doing the Leela synchronizes the material energy with the Leela. But sometimes the spiritual energy cannot synchronize the material energy. For example, when Krishna, he finished his training in the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni. So he wanted to give a Guru Dakshina to his Guru. He said, Gurudev, whatever you want, please ask. And he said, I have lost my son. Please bring back my son. He was carried away by the ocean. So then Krishna went to the ocean and the son had actually been eaten by a demon, Shankasur. So Krishna, he found Shankasur, killed him and took his shank, and so the conch of Krishna is called Panchajanya. It's that very conch that he took from that demon. And he opened the belly of the demon and he could not find the son there. Why? Because he'd been digested. and his soul and his subtle body had gone to Yamaraj, to Yamalok. So then Krishna went to Yamalok. And he said to Yamaraj, I have to serve my Gurudev. Gurudev asked me to bring his son back, so I have to bring back his son. So then Yamaraj, he was a little bit of loss. Because how can he give his son back? Because son's already being digested by the enzymes of the Shankasur. And now the soul is here in the subtle body. And just then, the son of Sandipani Muni comes running. And he is very happy. In the same body that his father had lost him. So it's miraculous. So this was all manifest by the spiritual potency. So what we're saying here is that generally Krishna's activities look like the activities of an ordinary human being due to the synchronization of the spiritual energy with the material energy. But sometimes when it becomes impossible, like in this case, the body of the son had been digested, then the fact that the spiritual energy is doing everything, then that pops out and it becomes apparent. Oh, okay. This Leela is a transcendental Leela and it's Krishna's spiritual energy is manifesting. The Leela Shakti is doing it. But otherwise, in most cases, you see things seem to be going in accordance with a human-like activity. You see, it's so wonderful how Srila Jiva Goswami is taking each episode of Srimad Bhagavatam and showing how it's an example of this profound Leela Tattva. So, now another example, another question. What happens if a devotee makes an offense to a great devotee? So what happens then is if you offend a great devotee, then your heart becomes gripped with hatred for Vaishnavas and for God. Slowly, slowly, you begin to hate the devotees, and that hate turns to hatred to God. And this hatred is like a Badavanala. Badavanal comes from the curse of Urva Rishi. It's a blazing fire like a volcano under the ocean. even millions of gallons of water, miles of water on top of it, and this fire will not go out. So it's very terrible. And that may go on for some births, for a long time. Gradually, when that offense wears off, and that devotee comes in contact again with Krishna, then again they become a devotee. So example is the daughter of Bali Maharaj. Name was Ratnavali. When Vamandev came, she saw this little boy. Oh, he's so lovely. If I had a son like him, I would love him so much. But then when Lord Vamandev took the whole universe from Bali Maharaj, and then Bali Maharaj surrendered to him and he bound him up with ropes. Then he said, if I had a son like him, I would give him poison. And she had a hatred for the Lord. Then, in the next life, she became Putana. So at first she had some devotion. Then she made offense. Then she became wicked demon. She was killing children and eating their blood. But then, when she came to Krishna, she was only disguised like a devotee. And Krishna purified her and gave her a position of a devotee in the spiritual world. So, if someone makes a devotee makes an offense and becomes very full of hatred for Bhagavan and goes against him, then Bhagavan becomes angry with him, but his anger is like the anger of a mother with a child. It's for the benefits of the child. So, those who were devotees, because sometimes the demons, they attain Sayuja Mukti, impersonal liberation. But if there was a devotee who made an offense, and due to that offense he became like a demon, then Supreme Lord will not, because his anger is like the anger of a mother, will not give Sayuja Mukti. And the reason why he does not give Sayuja Mukti is because the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion, is indestructible. It cannot be destroyed. The creeper can dry and die and there's no bhakti there, but the seed of devotion can never be destroyed. So after some time, after some suffering and so on, then again, once that seed of devotion has been given by a pure devotee, then one day, somehow or other, Krishna will deliver that person. Okay, one more tattva. When the demons and demigods churned the ocean of milk, at that time it is said that the mode of passion increased to give more strength to the demons. The mode of goodness increased to give more strength to the demigods. And the mode of ignorance increased to give inertia, insentience to Vasuki. Because the snake Vasuki, he was so much pain. The demons and demigods are pulling him backwards and forwards to try to make this mountain turn around. It was very intense. So the mode of ignorance increased in Vasuki to dull the pain, so he would not be in pain. Now, the problem with this is that in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said the three gunas are always competing with each other. So sometimes sattva goes up and rajas and tamas goes down. Or tamas goes up and rajas and sattva go down. So one goes up and the others go down. They cannot all increase at the same time. But in Srimad Bhagavatam it said, during the churning of the ocean of milk, all the gunas increased at the same time. What does it mean? It means that this Leela was being done. Krishna, in these various avatars, like Kurma was there underneath the mountain. Vishnu was on top of the mountain. Ajit was there, also churning along with the demigods. Dhanvantari came with the nectar. And then Mohini Murti came and cut the head of Rahu with chakra. So there are many incarnations of the Lord. And it seems like they're interacting with sattvic and rajasic and tamasic persons. But the proof that all the gunas were increasing shows that the Lord was not interacting at all with the physical world. Because His Swarup Shakti was behind everything and orchestrating the lila. So what happens is, the Swarup Shakti has an effulgence that is called Abhas. And the Maya Shakti becomes the Samyukta, united, conjoined with the Abhas of the Swarup Shakti. So just as a reflection moves with the original object. If there's a reflection and you move your hand, so the hand moves in the reflection. So in the same way, when the Supreme Lord appears, His Swarup Shakti comes, and the material energy becomes conjoined with the, doesn't touch the Swarup Shakti, but it's conjoined with the Abhas of the Swarup Shakti. And in this way, the Swarup Shakti moves, and the material energy is just like a shakun. It's indicative, but not instrumental. The actual spiritual energy is doing everything. Now the question may come, alright, this is so amazing. When Bhagavan comes to this world, we've understood that around Him there's like a bubble of the Swarup Shakti, if you like. Nothing around Him is going on in a material way. It's all joined with the Abhas of the Swarup Shakti, so it's all orchestrated perfectly. But there are millions of years in between the different incarnations of the Lord. So what happens during that time? And the answer is given. You can bring it. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7. Narad Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, Verse 10. Yada sikshu pura atmana paro rajasvi jatesha prataksumayaya satvam vitrityasu rarangsu ishwaraha saishmanas tama irayatyaso. It means, when the Supreme Lord, He desires to create bodies. Yada sikshu pura atmana paro. He wants to make bodies for Himself. Then, Rajasrijate Esha Pritakswamayaya, He separates Maya by Rajagun. Now the meaning is this, that before the creation, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas are in equilibrium. So there are no forms or anything. So in order for the elements to manifest, Mahatattva and Sutra Tattva, Ahankar, and all the elements, this balance of the gunas has to be broken. So the balance of the gunas is broken by Kal, time. So what is Kal, time? Time is originally spiritual energy. It is the Kriya Shakti of the Supreme Lord. So, but what happens is, the Kriya Shakti has its Abhas. This Kriya Shakti is part of the Swarup Shakti. Okay? It's the action portion. Gyan, Icha and Kriya are three aspects here of the Swarup Shakti. So the Abhas of the Kriya Shakti, of Swarup Shakti, internal potency, as we mentioned before, like during the Supreme Lord's Leela, the Abhas is co-joined with Maya. And so the Kriya Shakti moves, and then Maya starts to move. So the equilibrium that was there is broken, and now all the elements come one after another. And the world is created. So the creation of the world is, it seems, done by Maya, But the original thing is, it's the Supreme Lord's Kriya Shakti. Time that is divided into minutes and seconds and milliseconds and everything, that is our idea of material time. But that is just movement. There's no such thing as, nowadays, people have this so-called scientific idea that time is a thing. You know? And either time is moving, time is a thing that's moving, or time exists. The past, present, and future all coexist at the same time, and we're moving through it. You know, so there are two ideas, the way that people think about time today. But these are not, they're not even rational. Because if time is moving, then at what speed is time moving? You'd have to time the speed of time in minutes per minute. So you'd need another time to measure the speed of the movement of time. But that time would need another time, and that would need another time. Because how fast is that other time moving? You see? So the idea that time is a thing that's moving is completely wrong. And then the other idea is like Albert Einstein's thing, that all time exists and we're moving through it. But the problem is, how fast are we moving through that time? We'll need another time. And need another time, and need it like this as well. So, in Greek philosophy and Christian theology, following Aristotle and Plato, etc., the actual philosophical point is presentism. Presentism is there's only now. And what we're saying is time is our mental abstraction based on movement. Things are moving, and we think that we abstract from that there's this thing called time. But time is actually only movement. What we're calling time is movement. So time is the Kriya Shakti of the Lord, the power to Kriya, move, action, and its Abbas is joined with the Maya, and then Maya moves. So then the movements of Maya, that's material time. But it's caused by the spiritual time, the Cheshta, the activities of the Lord, Kriya. But there's only now. So in the spiritual world, Nimesha Dhyakyamva Sravatin, in Brahma Samhita it says, time does not pass even by half a second, even by a blink of an eye. In the Brahma Samhita it is said. Okay, so we have this situation where Prakriti was in equilibrium, and Yada Sikshikshu Pura Atmana Paro. You can see, if it comes back on the screen, when the Supreme Lord desires to make bodies Atmana, for himself, then by Rajagun, Rajas is the Kriya Shakti, or rather, his desire is the Kriya Shakti, and when it moves matter, the equilibrium is broken. That manifests as the first Rajas in the material universe, and all the elements come. So Pritak Swamayaya, Maya that was one becomes Pritak. It's now divided, develops into all the separate elements. You see? So Sattvam Vrityasura Rangs Ishvara, and when the Lord, he wishes to play with those forms, he manifests Sattva, that is the world continues for some time. And then when he wants to sleep, Sayishamana Tama Irayatyaso, he manifests Tama, and the universe is dissolved. Lord Shiva does his dance of destruction, and all the elements devolve back into each other. They're resolved back into each other, and everything disappears. Okay? So that's the creation, maintenance, and destruction. Now, what Narad Muni is saying here is astonishing. He's saying, when the Lord wants to create bodies for himself, and the reason, the bodies here means the bodies of pure devotees. In other words, in the previous creation, there were some devotees who had made progress in pure bhakti, but they did not become perfect yet. And then there was the destruction of the universe. In the meantime, the Supreme Lord was feeling separation. Oh, my devotee, when will he come to me? When will he attain his perfection? So the Lord wants to give a sadhak form, a body, to his devotee. This is what it means. Yada sikshishu pura atmana paro. When the Lord wants to create bodies for himself. That means the body of a devotee is actually one form of the Lord. Right? Sakshat haritvena samasta shastre. Because the Lord acts through his pure devotees. And this body is also for the Lord because the devotee lives to serve him. So the Supreme Lord, out of love, feeling separation from his devotee, wanting to give him a form so he can complete his sadhana, become perfect and come back to him, but because of this icha, this desire, then he does a kriya. And the kriya is, he breaks, his kriya shakti comes, then is united with the Maya. The Abbas is united with Maya, and the equilibrium is broken, and the whole universe is manifest just to give sadhak forms to the devotees. But incidentally, everything else is all manifest, and all the jivas who are non-devotees also get a chance to be born, and according to their past karma, and continue to work out their karma. So, what is very special here is that you may think, oh, now I met my Gurudev and now I'm trying to become a Vaishnava. I put on tilak and wear dhoti. But I see there are millions of people. They don't wear tilak. They don't wear dhoti. So I am part of an extreme minority sect. Like this, a new devotee can think like this. It's a little bit oppressive that I am one of this, and everyone discriminates against. They say, who are these Hare Krishnas? Like this. And they feel so out of place in this world and in society. Okay, this feeling can come. But what is the actual reality? God makes this world only for the devotees. This world is not for anyone else, primarily. Incidentally it is. But primarily, God only makes this world for those persons who have a tilak and kantimala and a dhoti. Right? So don't feel like some oppressed sect. Right? This entire universe, God has made it just for you. Why? Because He loves His devotees. Only out of love. You can see the time. You can see the finger on the clock is moving. Tick, 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 tick. You know what this time is? This is God's love. Because the only reason that there's such a thing as time is His Kriya Shakti creating the opportunities for us to become pure. We can say actually, I cannot say God has made the world for me. I can say that very advanced devotees, Supreme Lord manifests the world for those advanced devotees. And I was wandering here and there, and one of those devotees was feeling compassion. And come. And taught me about Harinam and service to Krishna and all Siddhantas. So then I tried to surrender to him. So, don't feel like in a state of alienation. The whole world belongs to Krishna and He has made it only for bhakti. You are doing kirtan on the street today and people are doing whatever, ice skating, eating in the restaurants. And they think, what are these devotees doing? No, the whole universe exists just for us to do kirtan. Not for them to do ice skating. Krishna said, Kamadi eva adhikaras, you have the right to do your duty. So people have a right to act according to their dharma. But that dharma is the dharma of the body. Vanashram dharma is the dharma of body and mind. The dharma of Atma is only bhakti. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam shanava. Leave all those things and surrender to me. So those who are on the path of bhakti, they are rightly situated And every moment is only the manifestation of God's love for His devotee. So we sing this every morning. When you wake up in the morning, we come to Mangalati and we say, Tomara nidraya jiva nidrita daraya tava jagarane viswa jagarita hoya. Before the creation, all the jivas were sleeping. And Supreme Lord was sleeping. The Vedas personified prayed, please wake up. And when the Supreme Lord woke up, then by His Kriya Shakti, then all the living entities woke up. Like this. Shubha Drishti Karo Prabhu Jagatera. Oh, please cast your merciful glance upon me. So Rati will appear in my heart. So, remember that the Supreme Lord manifests the world, what? For the devotees. And everyone else, they're like the extras on the set. They're the extras in this drama. But the pure devotees are so kind. Their hearts are melting and Krishna's mercy comes through them and they invite them to come into Krishna's Leela. And this is, our parampara is the extension of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela. The extension of Gaura Leela. Now, one more point. I lied before. I said one more point, but there's actually another one more point. I thought I was telling the truth when I said it, but now... So you please forgive me. But there's another very sweet point. Janestu satam bhagavat tanunam. Nalukuver and Manigriv prayed to the Lord. That, oh my Lord, may my eyes always be engaged in seeing your devotees. Bhavat tanunam, who are your own body. Guru Krishna Rupaya Shastra Pramane. Guru Rupa Krishna Kripa Karan Bhaktagane. Guru is one form of Krishna. So pure devotees and Guru Dev, pure Vaishnavas, they are actually forms of Krishna in this world. So the question comes, if when Krishna comes to this world, he never interacts with the material energy, and pure Vaishnavas are one form of Krishna, what does that mean? It means that pure Vaishnavas never interact with the material energy also. You understand? And this is why when the living entities come into the association of a pure devotee, now their good fortune has begun. And if they surrender to that pure devotee, following his instructions, now just as the pure devotee is, all his activities are under the control of the internal potency, when we surrender to a Vaishnava, now we become free from the control of Maya, from the control of karma, from the material energy, and also become in that Leela, in the control of the internal potency, Swarup Shakti. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Mahatmanas tu mam parata daivim prakritim asritaha. The great souls, they are in the ashray of Daivi Prakriti, spiritual energy. You see? So, in order to chant Harinam purely, in order for the mind to have the self-disclosure of Krishna's Leela, that is Smaran. Smaran is the self-disclosure of Krishna's Nam, Rup, Gun and Leela. It's not something that you can do with the mind. In order to chant the name, do Kirtan and Smaran, we have to be under the shelter of the internal potency. How can we do that? Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bando Mui Sava Dano Mate Bando Mui Sava Dano Mate. Sri Das Thakur is saying, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. the only place where we can find pure bhakti is at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. Feet are mentioned here because when we speak of lotus feet, it indicates dasya bhav. So it's a metaphor for service. Only by serving a Vaishnava who is already in the shelter of the internal potency, then we can become under the shelter of the internal potency. Now, internal potency has different aspects. For example, by which aspect of the Swarup Shakti does Krishna bring about the Gun Udbhav? That is the awakening of the three gunas. By which Shakti? Kriya Shakti. Yes. So, when a person first comes to Sri Guru or pure Vaishnavas and starts to serve them, you come under the control of the Kriya Shakti. That means by their mercy, Mat Kripa Bina Kon Kama Bhakti Nai, Krishna Bhakti Durai Sansanahi Shai. It is said, without the mercy of a great soul, no activity you do will be bhakti. Even you get a mala and you think that you're doing, but it's not bhakti without the mercy of it will be bhakti when? When we surrender and we're in the anugatya, under the guidance of a pure devotee, now we become under the control of Kriya Shakti. And therefore, Ado Shraddha, first some faith, Sadhu Sangha, and then, actually Sadhu Sangha caused the faith. But then we do Sadhu Sangha again, but with the intention of progressing in bhakti. So then, initiation takes place. And there is Bhajana Kriya. Why is it called Bhajana Kriya? Because by receiving initiation and taking shelter, now you have come under the control of Kriya Shakti. So it's called Bhajana Kriya. But it's not called Bhajan. The devotee is not doing bhajan. He's doing activities. By the mercy, Kriya Shakti is coming and making him act. Do the activities of bhakti. But it's not actually bhakti yet. It's the Swarup Shakti. Mercy is doing it. But it's not actually bhakti yet. Bhakti will begin from the Ruchi. Shuddha Bhakti, pure bhakti from there. So, the reason is that when devotees comes to Nishtha, then gradually, some realization is coming. And Abbas. And then, really the Swarup Shakti, Samvit and Hladini. The Hladini gives taste, great pleasure. It will come in Ruchi. So, Samvit and Hladini, Samvit discloses Sri Krishna, reveals Krishna. And Hladini gives the Seva-briti. I want to be with Krishna. Seva, the Bhagavad Prapt Abhilas. I want to be with Krishna. Anukul Abhilas. I want to render a favorable service. Sohad Abhilas. I want to have a very intimate friendship, heart-to-heart relation with Krishna. So these feelings come from Hladini. So Samvit and Hladini come. Samvit reveals Krishna and gradually reveals your own Swarup. And Hladini causes the Seva-briti. And that is a great joy. There's great joy in that. You don't need to be any repayment for seva, because the seva itself, what to speak of doing the seva, only the desire to do the seva is full of joy and manifested by Hladini. So then one's activities are actually called bhakti. Now he's really doing bhajan. So first bhajana kriya, only the kriya shakti is coming, and then later when steadiness comes, then the swarup shakti comes. Starts to appear. And ruchi, asakti, bhav, prem, and so on. Like this. So this is why I said, Shri Guru Charana Padma, Kevala Bhakati Sadma. First take shelter. The Kriya Shakti will give you power to act. By doing the actions, the anarthas will go and steadiness will come. And then on top of that, the Swarup Shakti will come and begin to give realization. So this has been explained by Kapil Dev, Canto 3, chapter 25, verse 25. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti ritkana rasayana kata tajoshana apavagavatmani sradha radhi bhakti anukramishyakti. In the association of pure devotees. Then the Harikatha mama virya samvido. It has power. What kind of power? Samvit. Rasayana kata, and the kata becomes rasayan, very, very relishable. So that means only when the devotee comes to the stage of ruchi and the sanvit shakti has come, then it's still relishable. Ruchi means he's relishing rasayana kata, the nectar of Harikatha. And that comes from prasanga, excellent association. Very rasik Vaishnavas. If someone associates with a devotee who is not very rasik, then that is not prasanga, the best association. It's sangha, not prasanga. So Vishwanath Thakur comments, from sangha, ordinary association of devotees, bhajana kriya will come. You'll engage in bhajana kriya. But only in the association of advanced devotees who are relishing rasa, then it will become rasayana kata, because Samvit Shakti will come and you'll start to really relish the pastimes and the qualities, form qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. Sri Radhika Madhavayo Apara Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Namnam Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Vande Goroshi Charnaravan. So we pray at the lotus feet of that Gurudev who every second is overwhelmed with greed to relish Radha Krishna's Madhurya, Leela, Gun, Rup, Nam, name, form, qualities and pastimes. By serving such a Vaishnava, first we become under Kriya Shakti, Bhajana Kriya, and then steadiness, and then Rasayana Kata. Everything becomes very, very delicious. So, by this beautiful presentation, Srila Jiva Goswami is giving how to discriminate what is the soul, what is the material energy, what is material time, what is spiritual time, what is the nature of Krishna's Leela, and how that extends through his devotees. All the various secrets of Bhakti Tattva also are indicated there. So, this evening we have completed our discussion of Paramatma Sandarbha. There are many other things. We have spoken previously in Berlin, last time we were there. That was a Guru Purnima festival and Sanatana Goswami's disappearance day. If you want to see more detailed exposition on Paramatma Sandarbha, you can hear those classes. So tomorrow we'll move to Krishna Sandarbha and perhaps Bhakti Sandarbha also tomorrow. And somehow we'll try to fit in Preeti Sandarbha on the last day. Jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Pada ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Oh, Pujari, you can blow the conch. The Panchatattva are waiting for us on the bank of the Ganges in Mayapur Yoga Peeth.
Hare